Jim Carrey said it best. As an actor, he takes on the character of a person he is going to play in the movie, and his success depends on how well he can get into this particular character and make it credible. In other words, he takes the movie character into himself and makes it a part of him, just like we've discussed when it comes to taking all aspects of our loved ones into ourselves and embrace them. In an interview, Carrey said that obviously the character he's playing is not him, but a temporary person he's taking in, and that the same thing applies to Jim Carrey as the real person. He's just another character, and it's not him. First, when we hear this, even we who have done our homework might think that he's talking about split personalities and the fact that most famous actors are heavily fragmented and might also have been subjected to MKUltra mind control, but this is not what Carrey is talking about. As we've discussed in previous videos, we are born into this world as a complete soul after being stripped of our fragments in the BLA. This means that we come here as a soul, not as a particular personality. The personality is something we develop here on Earth by taking in information from our environment from birth and throughout our entire lifetime. Depending on what we experience, we form our personality and individuality accordingly. Many people might think that they had similar personality traits in previous lifetimes as they have in the current one, but this is typically not the case. Even if we consider ourselves being a fairly decent person in this lifetime, there are no guarantees that we were not a notorious outlaw in the previous one, depending on our upbringing and life experience. To a soul, life equals experience, and the Divine Feminine, who is the ultimate explorer of herself, does not distinguish between good and bad. All experience is an aspect of herself that she wants to explore, and the souls in the universe are her extensions in order to be able to have these experiences from separate perspectives. Because we are born with amnesia, we have no past and no future. When we're born, we are just a soul, ready for a new experience, which will often be quite different from the previous one. Although we, in the BLA, have some say in what we want to experience in the next lifetime, there are no guarantees that things turn out the way we hoped it would. With this said, the soul does have accumulated experiences to draw from, coming from previous lives, and this can be somewhat helpful in order to expand and see through lies, manipulation, and abuse. But in many ways, we are starting from scratch again when we reincarnate. This is the irony of living in this matrix. Because we are not taking our memories and experiences with us to any major degree into the next life, we have no other choice than to go to square one again in many instances. Thus, our childhood is a very important part of our lives. This is where our basic personality is formed. In the situation we are in as a human soul group, too much childhood trauma might lead to a life where we are in a constant emotional pain, and we act out on our wounds and triggers because they are in constant re-stimulation. Our conscious mind becomes very inactive. The other side of the coin is when we have the best imaginable childhood and we become quite successful and confident in our adulthood. Life seems to be flowing in the person's favor for the most part. When we experience trauma in our childhood, it is to some degree based upon previous incarnations. How we deal with this is to some degree dependent upon what we learned in a previous life. For most people, it leads to a life where we are on a continuous emotional roller coaster ride, but we also have the possibility to use our experience as a catalyst for our awakening. In the latter case, where we had a relatively good childhood, it might be even harder to have an awakening, because if life is flowing very much in our favor most of the time, we feel no need to wake up to what the matrix is all about. Unless such a person experiences a big life crisis, an awakening is not necessarily likely to happen. However, the bottom line is that we are not our personality. This is something we develop in a particular lifetime, and this is important to understand. A soul has no personality, she just is. The soul is the core part of us that gathers information, and many people call it our oversoul, which is not incorrect but can lead to confusion. The Queen, from what we've concluded, is our collective oversoul. But what we call the individual oversoul is simply our soul, the core you. Just like the Divine Feminine as a whole, we are souls. We as souls are her splinters, and therefore the soul is just gathering experiences and information to learn more about herself on an individual basis. We are experiences for the Queen, who is the manifestation of the Divine Feminine, participating on a more direct basis for the DF. The conscious mind can be looked at as the awake part of us, which we use to consciously operate in the 3D universe, while the subconscious mind is what we call the reptilian brain mind, that was built in to alert us of danger and make us react automatically to threatening situations in life. It is also in charge of automatic motoric functions, such as breathing and heartbeats, etc. But both minds are something we are using while operating in the 3D universe, the so-called physical universe. They are not the soul, although all is connected, body, mind, soul. Most beings in the car are still 3D beings with bodies just like us, but they operate in a slightly different density from which we humans have been cut off. However, the soul does not have a mind, it just is. So, we don't bring our personality with us into the next lifetime if we choose to reincarnate again. Star beings in the car don't have amnesia. This doesn't mean that their bodies can't die, but when they do, they bring their memories and experiences from a previous body with them into the next, contrary to us humans. The difference between us and them is the amnesiac part of this matrix. We only have a short time, usually between 70 and 90 years, to develop our personality and to expand and learn. Then the body has decayed to a point where it can no longer function and we die. Next we go to the BLA and get stripped of the fragmented parts of the mind, which is the soul energy operating in 3D. The soul energy that fuels the mind of course comes from our own core soul, who in her turn takes it from the central fire. However, the more we get disconnected from the CF because of being fragmented and stripped of our power, the less energy is left of the soul to fuel the mind in the next lifetime. We forget from where we get our power, our energy, and thus we contain ourselves, and we slowly become like the Arknarks themselves, deprived of creative energy. Only when we wake up from this coma and heal from past wounds in this lifetime can we successfully refuel our mind and connect to our higher self, which is our core soul. From here on, I want to distinguish between higher self, our core soul, and the oversoul, who is our collective soul, the Queen herself. Otherwise, the mind, unbeknownst to itself, disconnects from its core being, the soul, and in the extension the Queen, our oversoul. A misconception that I've often seen in the spiritual community is that we must evolve. I have had this misconception too, but I've come to a new realization about this. The soul is already evolved. It's always evolved because it's just a sponge who gathers information and experience. We have the feeling that we must evolve, but it's only because we don't remember our experiences from previous lives. Once we exit the matrix, we are evolved already, and have always been, because we bring all the experiences with us. Then we are no less and no more than any other star beings, we just have a different experience altogether. Because we don't bring our personality with us into the next lifetime. The personality you attribute your name to is gone, or rather, it is being stored as a soul memory and a soul experience. When we are born again, we form a new personality based on the circumstances we are born into. The misconception is that we build a knowledge base in this life. Let's say that our purpose is to help building a better world. And when we are born into the next body, we can more or less continue where we left off. This is not the case because of the amnesia. If the new life circumstances are right, we might be able to regain our purpose and continue on that path to some degree, but this is not a guarantee, even if this is our intention. Many of us have flashbacks from previous lives, sometimes without being aware of that this is what it is. And we suddenly remember things and get new insights. We say that we are now in connection with our higher selves, which is the core soul, who knows because of past experiences. We manage to establish some connection with it, and we can act upon that. But we need to realize that when we reincarnate, we do so with a blank slate, with no memories of previous existence, so we need to regain parts of these memories in order to continue where we left off. This means that with every lifetime, we gain some, but we lose quite a bit more. This is of course by design. It is my and Ariel's conclusions that there is no use to coming back here again after this lifetime is over. First, there is too much risk involved, and we are bound to get trapped again if we don't navigate through our new lifetime with huge precision. And second, it is our purpose to graduate from this experience, and we do this by educating ourselves, connecting the dots, becoming passionate and loving beings, and then make a decision whether we are ready to exit or not. We, the Human Soul Group, have a little window in time when we can learn about the Matrix and how to graduate, and if we miss this opportunity, we might not get a second chance. With the upcoming singularity and the tightening of the trap that is being done now with technology given to us by the AIF dwelling in the second density, our chances to graduate become slim, to say the least. And it is in the second density they want us to join them. As things stand now, human beings can only wake up on an individual basis, and while being here in the Matrix, we can affect others to do the same by raising our own frequency. Our suggestion is not to overrun. Once we're ready to graduate, we graduate. If we overrun that point, we might miss the chance.